Hi Mia, how you doing today?
I'm doing okay.
All right, so what do you want to talk about today?
So I recently started graduate school and I have noticed myself kind of doubting that decision and feeling like it's not for me because I feel like I don't belong.
Okay, so first of all, it's never fun to doubt your decisions and question whether or not it was the right choice for you, but it's also never fun to feel like you don't belong somewhere.
Right. Yeah, I definitely I wanted to go to graduate school and I didn't really think I was gonna feel this way, but once I entered um, the actual program and I saw the people around me, I kind of started comparing myself to them and feeling like I wasn't the same, and I was either doing worse than them or I just wasn't on the same level as in intelligence or ability.
So you don't feel you're as intelligent and you're not meeting up with the standards that you've set for yourself.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I'm not like they are. I feel like they know way more than me, and they don't seem as discouraged by the workload or the content. I feel like they have all their stuff together, and then I just feel like I'm kind of falling behind in a way. I don't think that I know as much as they do, or I'm able to do as good as they are doing.
What are some specific examples of times that you felt like this?
Definitely in class. I've noticed when we're in our research methods class, I've noticed people asking questions that are good questions, but then I feel like I don't even know the information to ask a question or even to understand their question. So I feel like I'm just so lost. And that's very frustrating for me because I want to do well and I want to understand what's going on. But then when I get to that class, I just feel very discouraged.
Okay, so you want to understand, you want to learn the material, and you want to be you want to feel like you're understanding it on the same level as everyone else, but it's very hard for you to recognize how to even go about asking questions when you don't understand it to begin with.
Yeah, yeah, that's what is really difficult for me. It's I hear all the students asking questions, and then my professor will respond, and then it's I feel like everybody else in the classroom is kind of how do I say this? Getting that information, and it's helping them, but me hearing that information, it's not even helping me because I just don't know what's happening.
Right.
So that's I feel like I'm just so behind.
Yep. So, you know, you feel like you should be understanding, but you're not.
Right.
So when you're going through these experiences, when you're comparing yourself, I'd really like to understand what it is that you go through. So I'm hoping maybe you can, walk me through your thought processes when you're comparing yourself.
Yeah, so kind of I notice myself feeling like I'm stupid. That's definitely a major one where when I'm comparing myself, I feel like, okay, that person's smarter than me, or just knows more than I know. And then I also feel embarrassed in a way too because I don't want them to recognize that I'm not as good as they are, or to know that I'm struggling because I feel like they might judge me or just look at me differently and feel like, why is she here? And we're in the same program, but she doesn't know half the stuff that I know. How did she get in to the same program as me? So I feel like they're gonna feel like that. And then I guess that also kind of makes me feel ashamed of myself. I can't, the fact that I can't ask those questions or understand those questions makes me feel definitely embarrassed and ashamed. Those, it's hard.
Okay, so you said some pretty strong words when telling me about your emotions and your feelings about this. You've used the word stupid, you used the word ashamed, and you've also used the word embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
And those are not fun emotions to be feeling. So I understand how, going through these and comparing yourselves to others can really make yourself feel negative about yourself.
Yeah, it's always like a negative feeling. Like I'm never looking at like the positives and things. I'm always like looking at the negative side.
Right, because you have nothing to be proud about yourself, right?
That's how I sometimes feel, but I try to know that like that's not healthy to feel that way, and like I mean, I know I have my good qualities, but then I just like let those negative feelings like override those positive feelings.
So on one hand, you know that you do have positive qualities about yourself. You know that you did get into grad school, but the other side of it, you feel like you didn't belong here and you shouldn't have been in grad school, and that you're stupid and you're this and you're that when you're comparing yourself to the other people.
Yeah, it's like that back and forth feeling, but I always end up on like the negative side. So it's like, even though I know that I worked hard to get where I am, I still just feel like I just don't know as much. So it's just a constant battle of like me questioning my intelligence and ability.
Do you think you're smart?
It's like I feel like I have my strong areas, but then again, I feel like they're not as good as other people. Like I feel like more people have more areas that they're smart in, whereas like me, I might just have like one or two.
So you want to be more well-rounded and feel like you have a firm grasp on multiple areas of the field versus one specific area.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. What have you done in an attempt to understand the material?
So I've read like my chapter books. I've tried to like kind of like go through, especially in like my research methods class. I've tried to like just reread each chapter after class and see if I can understand what she was talking about or what people were asking, and see which areas I'm unsure of. So I try to read, and then I also like take notes when I'm reading. So I mean it can help, but then when I get to that class, I just then feel like, oh my god, I don't know what's happening. Even though I just read, but I still just feel like so overwhelmed by her talking about the content and then everybody else asking questions that I just kind of retreat to that feeling of like, oh my god, I don't know what's happening.
Okay, so you feel overwhelmed by the fact that no matter the effort that you're seeing you putting in and the time that you're putting into it, you still feel you're not meeting the requirement and you're not at the place where you should be, and that's overwhelming and frustrating for you.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I'm not at that point like everybody else is. Like I feel like I've fallen behind.
Okay, so in an ideal situation, what would you like to see yourself understanding, and like what goals do you have for yourself to, in your ideal world, what would you be doing?
So ideally I would know everything, but like that's not realistic. But especially with like graduate school, ideally I would just like to know enough to like do well. Like I just want to do well, and I want to, succeed. I'm like always afraid that I'm gonna fail or like get kicked out. So my mind goes like to the worst possible scenario. So ideally, I would like to not think that way. I would like to think more positively about my abilities and like what I'm capable of. So yeah, I would hope that I could get to that point, but it's hard.
Right. Okay. So we know that you're comparing yourself, that you're thinking negatively about yourself, but you do want to progress to a point where you recognize that you do have positive attributes, and informing me, and thank you for feeling comfortable with telling me like what you're feeling, and I really hope that we can work forward, look towards making these changes for you, because it sounds like you're really struggling to feel like you belong here, and I want you to be able to feel like you do, because you do belong here. You were picked here, so we're going to work towards that.
Okay. Nice. Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
You're welcome.